Hello, everybody. This is Caesar with BFW Post 2772. This is our first VPR. This is Cindy, the post adjutant. We are going to do a quick VPR that we are required to do through the state. This is some informational stuff that we're going to do. And today's episode is going to be what, Cindy?
Oh, today we're going to talk about Operation Desert Storm.
I don't remember that. I think I was in junior high when that happened. 91? Yep, it sure was. I was in seventh grade. I remember. I think there were some of the students actually trying to do a walkout. They were like, "Oh, we're against the rule," and then my teacher in that period locked the door and said, "If anyone wants to go out there, you guys are gonna get after school detention." I was like, "Yep, I'm not going anywhere. I'm
Oh
gonna
my
stay right
gosh, I was a little bit older than you, Caesar. I actually was at Loring Air Force Base in Maine, stationed there when they ramped up for Operation Desert Storm.
And I remember during that time. I mean, I think obviously it started during the night over there, but I remember it was like a big deal because a lot of people were thinking, "Oh no, we're gonna go back toward like the same era like of Vietnam type of thing," and a lot of people just were not, especially us. Me as a impressionable young man, I guess it was just one of those things that didn't really quite hit home yet because we were just like, "Oh, it's another war," they're we're going to be over there doing nothing but killing innocent people type of thing. So
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. During the during the time frame before up to this war, we have developed so much stuff. Our leadership improved and everything. But the greatest aspect of all of it was the coordination of GPS.
oh yeah, during that time is when they actually started using it, right? And
Yes, they use GPS for land targeting and also for just air support, everything. They use GPS. And without that, we would have never advanced as fast as we did.
And look at it now. It's like now we can't even not even use your phone without actually having GPS. You have to go anywhere. Remember during that time it was MapQuest.
Yeah, for sure. And did you even know that? I didn't even know that. I guess I didn't realize that Iraq was the fourth largest war. They had the fourth largest group of soldiers back then, and that's a large in the world. And because of our GPS, we were able to take control of the situation.
Well, from talking to other veterans that are here that actually were there during that time, especially in the invasion, they said that as soon as they saw Americans, they were pretty much like giving up their guns. They're like, "Oh, we're not fighting you guys. We're gonna be done. I don't think we're gonna do that." So.
Oh, they said at the 100th day, they were going into Iraq and they were just like sitting on the ground saying, "Take me, take me. I don't want to be here anymore."
Well, I don't know if it was voluntary there or they were actually told to actually be a part of their army or part of their armed forces. So I think a lot of them didn't even want to be in that situation, because if I know enough about Islam, is that I think they're part of the Quran. It actually says that they're not supposed to kill as well. So they actually feel pretty strongly about that.
And here they were going against other Muslims of their own, faith. Right. So that was even the worst part of it all.
So when I spent some time in Syria, actually, it was actually one of those things that being with the Sunnis, I believe, the Shiites. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a lot of the Kurds, right? Because Kurdistan was right there. They actually didn't want to recognize Kurdistan as part of Iraq and part of Syria. It's Kurdistan, and there's a lot of Kurdish people there. And for what I remember is that they actually loved Americans for whatever reason, and they were like, "No, we're here. You guys are good. We'll give you whatever." And it was actually one of the coolest things that I've ever experienced. And seeing through their eyes and actually what they told me that they're like, "No, well, we're thankful that a lot of that stuff didn't really get to us at that point in time." So it's a different perspective from what they're at. So.
Well, I was actually set up to go on the Advon team, which is the first team to set up the bases in Saudi Arabia.
Uh-huh.
And I was ready to go. I was all packed, and then it was like 3 hours before they said, "Nope, Saudi Arabia can't have you. You're a woman."
Oh.
And that was a huge change in how we went to wars after that. Saudi Arabia started letting women come and do more things because we wanted our women as integral parts of our, groups right. when we deploy. So it was a big change in a lot of our cultures in the military.
Well, they weren't used to women actually being, A, in charge and B, in being in the military because, everything that they're there is, from what I remember seeing, is women are pretty much like second class citizens, and they're always walking behind the man, like, one or two steps behind them, and making sure that they're actually they make all the decisions. But behind closed doors, who knows who makes the decisions?
Yeah, when I deployed in 94 and 95 to Saudi Arabia, I went to all over Saudi, and each part of Saudi Arabia had different rules.
Right.
And at the very last of my tour, I was able to drive from point A base to point B base, and that was a huge thing.
Well, I think
Huge.
that's probably because they actually finally accepted the fact that, like,
Oh,
well,
I
they're probably
don't
going to be
know.
here for a long time. They're probably going to give us some money. So
They probably said, those damn American ladies, we're going to make them go with whatever they want. We're going to. But yeah, this was a crate. They called this the 100-hour war.
100-hour or 100-day?
100-day war, I'm sorry. 100-hour war. Forget that. It was 4 days of ground combat. 4 days of ground combat, 100 hours of combat.
That's pretty quick.
That was fast. That's how quickly they said, enough, Well,
Well,
we can't beat that GPS.
Well, not only that, but they're like, oh, they saw all the tanks, all the different equipment that we had. I mean, they were outmatched and outnumbered.
Well, we had great coalition, too. We had so many nations come together. I mean, we were all together as a team. And our leadership, I mean, who can you beat, when you have great leadership and GPS? But the greatest thing about all of it is that it all started in August the 2nd of 1990, and that's when Desert Shield started, and then it went to Desert Storm, and then it went to the Liberation and Defense of Kuwait, and it ended up with the Southwest Asia Ceasefire Campaign, which ended in November 30th, 1995. So that whole time from the beginning to the support of Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm is known as the Southwest Asia.
That's cool. I have a little story behind that. So I had a soldier. His name was Albert Stringfield, especially Stringfield. He was a retired CHP, California Highway Patrol. He actually got medically retired because he got hit by a car when he was actually pulled somebody over. He was in a motorcycle. He got hit and he got retired. But he was a specialist, like a lifetime specialist, like E4 Mafia type of thing. This guy was in the original Desert Storm in '91, and he actually got hurt there too. So he was, we started calling him like accident-prone Stringfield. This guy, you can never forget his laugh because he was just one of those things. Like once he starts laughing, he was contagious to everybody else. And the more he laughed, the more you laughed because he was laughing, and the more you laughed, he laughed. So it was one of those things. But the one thing that I remember about him is that he actually got awarded the Purple Heart when he got hurt. And guess who gave it to him? General Schwarzkopf.
Oh, wow.
Gave it to him. Went over to his to his room. Where
went to his room.
Went to his room where he was at the hospital. Gave it to him, and I'm like, Stringfield, do you even remember any of that? He's like, Sergeant, I don't remember anything. He's like, I don't remember where I was. I was like, do you even know who gave it to you? He's like, well, they said it was Schwarzkopf. I was like, at this point, I'm like, okay. It was easy enough or long enough to know that, hey, if there's no pictures, if there's pictures, there's proof that it happened. If you have no pictures, there's no proof it didn't happen. He's like, come on, Sarge, you can't be like that. I was like, hey man, we live in a world now that you have to prove everything pretty much. But
Show
just
me.
So just give him a hard time. But this guy, I still talk to him. As a matter of fact, I talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's doing good. Like I said, he was a specialist back then, and this is back when I met him. It was in 2009. So, and he was an E4 lifetime. So I'm sitting there like, you should have been like a E9 by now. Stringfield, he's like, what happened? I was like, well, Sarge, I was like, oh no, here we go. As soon as you start saying that, I already know you're gonna be full of excuses. But yeah, that's one of the greatest stories that I've ever encountered with him because. To be given a Purple Heart by General Schwarzkopf was the commander at that time. It's huge.
That is a huge honor. There was 650,000 U.S. soldiers that served in Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
That's crazy. And we didn't really have very many losses, I don't think.
No, I don't have the exact number, but it was so minimal. Of
If
course,
anything.
they came back with a lot of, the PACT Act has all kinds of
Yeah.
illnesses and stuff. There was burn
The
pits
burn
even
pits,
in
yeah.
Saudi Arabia, even where I was at in Dhahran, and there was burn pits there, and Al's Garage had burn pits.
Well, they
Um,
start when they started burning the oil fields.
oh, that was in Iraq and stuff. And
Yeah.
yes, when the Army and the Marines and everyone went into Iraq, there was just fires. And those pictures, have you seen those
Oh
pictures?
yeah. Well, some of our post members actually were there during that time, and um, not to. I'm not saying that this is what their correlation is between what some of their illnesses are, but I would highly think that some of these illnesses they have now are correlated to that. Because it's just a bunch of fumes, oil fumes like crude oil fumes that they were encountering. So
And they just kept going, and that's where they slept. I mean, there was nothing blocking any of that.
right. So this is something that we as opposed to veterans, we really need to start getting more involved in our legislative part of the process because some of these illnesses that we have as members or as veterans. Other people don't have, like in the civilian world, they don't seem to have some of these things that we
Oh,
have.
I did a sleep study, and they said it's undiagnosed. They don't even know what kind it is. How do you not know what kind of illnesses you have? You know what I mean? And they just can't figure it out but I'm not alone. There's other people
Right.
out there. They don't have a clue what they're called.
Well, there's I mean, that, and then I think there's a higher rate of cancer
Yep.
that we have, especially during those times. Agent Orange wasn't acknowledged for a very long time.
That's correct. It took years and years to be.
I mean, this is something that I remember back in 2000 when they finally started recognizing that Agent Orange was actually a thing. They're like, oh yeah, and then the Blue Water.
Yeah, the
vets.
blue water being for the Agent Orange. And then they went to other countries, which was fabulous. So little by little, every time that we've came back to a war, and just like today, we had an event here today, and the individual was in Desert Storm, and he talked about how he came home and everyone was so proud of him and everything, and how he wished that people were like that when Vietnam happened.
Which he referenced that.
Yes, he did. He did. And it was very nice because he said that it was an honor and it was a respect that people now are respecting because
Right.
of Desert Storm and Desert Shield. They're noticing that,
Well, I
we're
think-
there.
So to me, okay, so the children of the Vietnam era veterans started growing up or were in high school and or right about to go into the military during Desert Storm. So
Either the Cold War or Desert Storm, that's correct.
so a lot of that generational gap, they saw their parents not being recognized. So those kids that are actually there started saying, well, my dad wasn't recognized when Vietnam is, like, why shouldn't I recognize them for their hard service? You know what I mean? So that's something that they started doing. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they started recognizing a lot of more veterans for their service for actually doing that because the parents were the Vietnam veterans.
Yes, I mean during that time frame, now we just respect them so much because, and it hasn't stopped. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan, I mean, all these other countries people are going to,
Yep.
and let's not forget Honduras and Panama and all of those places too. I mean, they're all getting recognized now that they weren't before, and I think a lot has to do with it's continually conflict, and we know what's going on.
I read somewhere the other day that in the U.S. in the 278 years that the U.S. has been alive, we have been at war for 93% of that time.
Wow. But the internet it has some bad and good, but at least it's out there promoting us veterans.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
so wonderful.
Exactly, but we need to be, we as veterans, like I said, we need to be more involved in the process of getting involved in the legislative part of it, being part of the community, chambers of commerce, going into the city council, things like that. This is where our voices are heard. So if we don't step up and start doing those things, we're going to start losing a lot of different benefits and or things that we're entitled to. That because the VA is going to start cutting down on programs and things like that, and which they have been for the last couple of years, and all you see is a lot of people are actually missing a lot of care.
Oh, definitely. Just like today, this program is called a VPR in the VFW, which is a veteran participation report. But what it means is educating the community on how it happened, what happened. Because there's just, I mean, these kids today that are graduating from high school, they weren't there then.
Well, there's a lot
They
of
weren't even
misconception
born
too.
then.
There's a lot of misconception too as to like historical facts that there's a sayings that only the winners write the history, right?
Yep.
And we as firsthand people that have been in combat situations, especially as a BFW member that have been in combat situations, that have been in countries that have been at war for a long time, like Afghanistan was. There's a big different perspective that we bring to that. So we can educate people as to what it is to not have those benefits.
Yes, I mean, to have the benefits is essential. To educate the proper use of electronic equipment for our wartime, I mean, the advancements. I mean, we just are so thankful that the advancements are out there, and we have leaderships in our country that are focusing on wartime advancements. So we don't have to be in another situation. We can be like, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, where we're in and out. We can be a little better with Iraq and Afghanistan and just be ahead.
Well, there's a lot of lessons learned, obviously. This last war that we've been in for the last 20 something years, there's a lot of lessons learned that we try to improve, but then the enemy starts getting smarter and smarter, so they start changing tactics. And I mean, if you think about it, it's just really how America came about, because they started using these guerrilla tactics and changing tactics as they went along. So that's what they're doing to us, and we're having to adapt and overcome. The last things that I was doing where I read that the defense now is actually the defense department is actually looking into their biggest threat is drones. So they're actually being attacked by drones. So they're actually having to come up with different ways to combat that. And one way of doing that is ground-based radar, and then actually trying to get something else that is jamming like an electronic warfare. So a lot of different things are actually being developed to actually combat those type of things. So we could actually be not a 100-hour war, but maybe like a 100-second war, because they're getting all these electronic warfare where you could detonate a bomb with a phone. So
and I can tell you it's way over my knowledge. I don't have, I mean, just setting up this podcast was above me. So that's the hardest part too, is understanding all of that and what's going on. But we are so proud of every one of our veterans that were in combat, or everyone that served. We are so proud of you. And today is definitely the Desert Storm, and thank you all that did Desert Storm. We are grateful for you.
Yeah. So just in closing, we want to say that not only the VFW, but other organizations that actually are out there that have the veterans that were during these encounters, but never got to see a foreign war. They're still a big part of the history of the Desert Shield and Desert Storm, because there were other entities that they were here, supporting in support roles, be it in Diego Garcia, be it in Okinawa, wherever.
Oh my
it was.
gosh, the people in Germany! I am so thankful for those that were stationed in Germany. That's where all our people that got injured went to.
And a lot of people don't know that. Other than your military,
they worked long hours.
Yeah.
Hospital staff. Oh, they just did fabulous work, and they took care of people as quick as possible.
It's one of the biggest hospitals outside of the U.S.
Yes,
they
need all the recognition.
It's outside of Ramstein. I can't remember the name of it. It's not Stuttgart, because that was a different one. But maybe in the next podcast.
Rhein-Main. Is it
Yeah,
Rhein-Main?
Yeah.
They just, the whole country. I mean, they moved them everywhere, and they were so talented, and that's where a lot of people deployed to, and they didn't go into the combat area.
And a lot of people don't know, but it takes a lot of coordination and logistics in order for it to even get to there. Because
Yes.
not only does the army have to be evacuate somebody, and then they evacuate them into an Air Force base, and then the Air Force then takes it over and then fly you over to Germany. So there's a lot of coordination that people don't really realize that goes on.
I was at Loring Air Force Base, and we were this is before Loring closed, we were the #1 location in the U.S. We had people from all branches come through there, all hours of the day and night. We didn't even have a place to host them.
Yeah.
They slept on, community floors and
I
just
remember those
buildings,
days.
hangar floors. Even like Navy SEALs and, Rangers, they were sleeping on floors. There was no place to put them up. But they were coming, like thousands coming in and just getting them over as quick as we can and back. And
In and out. It's like, the biggest saying in the military is like, hurry up and wait.
But it was all branches together, working together.
Yeah, hurry up and
we
wait.
worked well together. And it's the leadership. If it wasn't for the leadership, I don't know if it would have ever succeeded as well as that.
Well, again, lessons learned, from other places that we've done. So
Yeah.
Anyway, but hey, this is our podcast. This is what we're going to be doing most of the time. So this is going to be pretty quick. I think we went over 10 minutes or something like that. We're
I
going to
hope you enjoyed Operation Desert Storm.
Yeah. We're going to try to do this more often. This is actually the first of the series that we're going to try to do. I know we've done other podcasts that I put out there, but this one's more of the informational side and the historical side that we as veterans of foreign war have done. So we hope that you've enjoyed it. And Cindy, thanks so much for joining me on this one.
Thank you, Caesar, for having me.
We are going to postpone for the next one. I think we have another one coming up. I don't remember which one it is, but there's another one coming up in the next month or so. So just look out on our website, befw2772.org, and or our Facebook page for those details when we're going to be posting that. All right. So thanks so much. We will catch you guys on the next one.